Let it begin. Zion Williamson. I'll take him. You can have everybody else. That's what Vegas is saying. Hypothetically, Zion is minus 300 to win Rookie of the Year at Caesars. The field, meaning every other rookie, is plus 250. Vegas loves Zion. And his new general manager, David Griffin, had this to say after the draft.
Look, this is not somebody who's supposed to be the savior of this franchise. That's not what this is. This is a 19-year-old kid who's going to spend this year learning how to play winning NBA basketball.
The perfect position for him to be in. In the meantime, at least he had the right hat on last night. Something that was hard to miss during the draft was that it felt like every other player, and 3 of them in the top 10, for example, put on hats of teams that they're not going to play for. They know they're not going to play for them. Everyone knows they're not going to play for them. But because the trades are not yet official, they have to sort of go through this song and dance. And Bobby, I know you were tweeting about that last night.
Well, and we wrote about it on ESPN this morning that I thought the NBA lost last night. I really did. I thought the first 11 picks was somewhat of a charade where we had 4 players there that had hats on that they won't even play for. And I think there's something that for teams in the league to look at as far as can we reverse free agency in the draft, have free agency start first, have the cap calendar year start first, start free agency, and then have the draft. And we wouldn't have issues like this.
So that's the mechanical piece of this, to be clear. And for anyone who's wondering, that's how the National Football League does it. They have their free agency and then they have their draft. This part of it, I understand the sort of discomfort of having to put on the hat. It does seem to me, however, that the mechanics of which comes first, the draft or free agency, is more important than that. That supersedes that. So do you think the league would actually be better served, forgetting the hats, and whatever the optics of that may be, having free agency before the draft?
I think if you polled all 30 teams, I think you would have a majority of teams that would like to do free agency before the draft. And I think that's something that they should look at when they have their meetings in Summer League.
Or you can just get rid of the hats altogether.
But that's the other piece of this. I mean, if the hats are the problem, we can get rid of the hats.
As a player, if I hear my name called in the lottery, I don't really care what hat I wear.
No, but I mean, here's the thing.
I got $1 million
the rest of your life, you're going to have that picture of you and Adam Silver standing there, and you're wearing a hat of a team that you never played for and were never going to.
Can we just put it in perspective, Rennie? You're still getting drafted in the lottery.
No, I understand that.
I hear you
get
with
it.
the hat.
No one is suggesting this is the most important thing in the world, but it certainly was all over Twitter last night as I was watching. Everyone was noting that this kid's never going to wear that team. Why is he wearing that hat?
But to what Bobby said, trades around the draft have gotten extraordinarily complicated, where so many of them now are sliding to the next league year. Beyond the hats, we've got a whole bunch of players who cannot be traded now until July 6th. Guess what? Summer League starts July 5th. They're now going to be behind because they have to sign their contract. So just functionally, with the flow of development of players, they need to make an adjustment on that.
Well, and they can't even have a press conference. So if you are, Jackson Hayes, who is going to New Orleans, they're going to introduce Zion Williamson, but he's going to have to wait until this trade is final. And Brian made a good point about Summer League. They're going to be in a holding pattern for the first 6 days. I know it's small things right now, and I agree with Jay about it is about getting drafted, hearing your name, and they're going to be paid wealthy here.
And it's not a small thing because somebody could twist an ankle and have a freak injury, and then we're having a different conversation.
Yeah, I mean, these trades are what they are. Look, I didn't mean to get bogged down in this. It's just something that I think a lot of people thought was a big deal.
And you're a perfectionist.
Let's get to this stuff. Well, it just rubs me the wrong way. And why am I wearing the wrong hat? I just don't understand it. Anyway, let's get to the stuff that really does matter. And I want to circle back to, because last night went, for the most part, according to plan. Very few things that happened last night were really stunning. So maybe the more interesting question is, what were the things that happened last night that will inform, Brian Windhorst, the things we will see a week and a half from now when the NBA's biggest free agents make their decisions?
Yeah, I just feel like last night was really about cleaning up books, too, all those trades. And I almost said the New Jersey Nets, sorry. The Brooklyn Nets, with this little teeny creep that's going on, they didn't qualify Rondae Hollis-Jefferson a couple days ago. Now, you may say, so what? Well, that saved $2 million. Last night, they traded out of the first round. I know a lot of people had already gone to sleep. That saved another $2 million. Guess what they're right on the cusp of when you include their trade last week of Allen Crabbe? 2 max slots. Why are they continuing to, I want first-round picks. Why would I give away a first-round pick? Why would I take a guy like Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, who's a decent player for me, and maybe say goodbye to him? Because they think they got a great shot at Kevin Durant. That's what I was looking for.
What do you make of this, Jay Will?
It's always been a feasible answer. I mean, we've been talking about this for the longest time. And I think Sean Marks is one of the best in the game right now with the way he's created cap space in order to let this happen. Kyrie's over in China right now, going on his Nike tour. Is he going to be the first domino to fall? Is it going to be Kevin Durant? But obviously, these two are close. That's a possibility.
All I know is a guy got drafted #1 overall last night that was born in the year 2000.
Yes, that was a whole other thing.
Oh, my God.
It was somewhat startling. But what do you make of the Nets continuing
Your red
to
suit's
open
older.
up all space? You have been steadfast in believing that if KD came to New York, it was not going to be to Brooklyn. Do you still feel that way?
I still feel that way.
Even though all signs point towards Kyrie in Brooklyn and the idea that they would come to this city together and play on opposite teams seems odd to some.
Well, it seems like they're going to be a package deal. But I still stand by the fact if I'm Kevin Durant and I'm going to leave the Golden State Warriors, where I've won 2 championships and been finals MVP, my next choice isn't only about winning. It's about other things that come with the market. And I think if you're going to come to New York in a vacuum, you go to a team that has a blank canvas. The Knicks basically have a blank canvas that can continue to build around him. And they have the Yes Network, too.
Bobby, there's a lot of cap space notes that I know you were talking about last night, and the Knicks are part of that, the Nets are part of that, the Celtics are part of that.
Well, we saw the Celtics now become, jump to the party here, right? They were a team that we thought would be in a luxury tax if Kyrie and Al Horford returned. Now they're positioned to have $26 million in room. They moved that Aaron Baines contract last night. They can still bring Terry Rozier back, and now that's a team that joins not as much as Brooklyn with 69 and New York with 70, but they're a team that still has Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, that can add maybe 1 or 2 pieces around those.
What are they looking at? What do the Celtics want to add?
Well, they need a point guard because Kyrie looks like he's walking, and Terry Rozier, even though he's restricted, has made it clear from the mountaintops he doesn't want to come back. So I don't necessarily think having free agent money in this class is the greatest idea, especially in Boston, which has not historically been able to draw free agents. There's a whole bunch of competition for those guys. I just can't believe the Celtics really thought they were going to lose Al Horford. I think their strategy was around, okay, we're going to re-sign Al and maybe add another piece. Now they got to replace Al Horford, which is incredibly difficult, and replace Kyrie Irving. It's not going to happen.
We were even talking about this before, and you brought up the great point about Isaiah Thomas, because I was saying it seems like the narrative is almost flipped a little bit for the Celtics very quickly, from them being like, hey, this is the team that's going to win the Eastern Conference. Look how Danny Ainge is so great. The way they handled the Isaiah Thomas situation, you talked about the fact before during our conversation about missing out on Kawhi Leonard, missing out on Paul George, hearing Terry Rozier literally come on this show and go on First Take and talk about, I want to be the guy, I want to feel appreciated, the Kyrie Irving situation. It talks about maybe how that franchise handles that climate.
And also missing out on Anthony Davis when everybody understands that you have the assets to get it done. Missing out on Kawhi Leonard,
yes.
where they had an opportunity to acquire him, and Paul George.
Jimmy Butler, we can go on and on.
That's what I'm saying.
How did the Celtics go from being the team of the future to the team of the past without ever having a present? That seems to be what happened here.
Well, Greeny, and it's amazing that the one rule that probably might collapse this organization was that designated rookie extension rule. If that rule wasn't in place, there might have been an Anthony Davis trade in February, and then the narrative of everything would have certainly changed. And Kyrie Irving could be back in Boston, and then you have Anthony Davis to build around. But now you don't have AD. You're likely not going to have Kyrie, and you're likely not going to have Al Horford.
You basically get punished if you're Danny Ainge for being really good at your job.
Yeah, and again, I think I speak for America when I say not everyone knows what that exception is, but it was the reason they couldn't get Anthony Davis because they had just gotten Kyrie Irving.
Cannot have 2 players you acquired in the trade that signed this rookie extension.
In retrospect, they should have just traded Kyrie Irving at midseason and then traded for Anthony
There
Davis.
were a lot of rules today, and again, I don't know. For me, it all goes back to the hats. I really have to get the hat. All right, we'll take a short.
You see on the screen. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. The NBA draft is tonight. Jalen Rose, millionaires will be made. Lives will be changed. Franchises will be changed forever. And all of the focus is on the #1 pick. Who's going to go #1, Jalen?
Zion.
So, we've talked about Zion for months now. And he was such a star, so much hype around him. And we've heard comparisons to Charles Barkley, to Blake Griffin, to Larry Johnson. What do you think he will be in the NBA?
I think he'll be a better defensive version of Julius Randle. And for those that have not been paying attention, Zion averaged 22 and 9 in college. That's what Julius Randle averaged this year in the NBA. And if you can get that from any player, that's doing work. And the difference, however, is the effort plays that Zion is going to bring to a team are unlike not only Randle, but anybody that we probably have seen.
What do you mean by effort plays?
Steals, blocks, charges, diving on the floor for loose balls, helping the helper, rotating, chase down blocks, that type of thing. The ability to be athletic happens in a lot of different facets on the floor. And one thing I used to always say about Blake Griffin when he played for the Clippers is he was athletic on offense, but I didn't really see him like blocking shots and really being a game changer athletically defensively. He's going to be that. Has a great smile, a nice personality. I'm glad. Other than the fact that I work in television, and of course, you know, if New York is good and Los Angeles is good, then that seems to help ratings.
It does.
I like that he's in New Orleans.
Why is that?
Because he could ease his way into his career. Instead of having, he's gonna have 60 cameras there instead of 600. We're gonna be at every other game instead of every game. And now all of a sudden he's not called upon to lift the team in a city.
And it's also, if they still had Anthony Davis, it would be like, oh, well, Zion's got to be, he's going to be the difference maker that takes them to championship contention. Now it's, we're rebuilding. You know what I like when it comes to jobs? What do I like when it comes to jobs?
David Jacoby's motto is keep expectations low.
Keep expectations as low as possible. And right now, the expectations could not be lower for the Pelicans. They're like, we are going to build a young core, and we're going to grow that young core, and perhaps compete for a championship in 3 or 4 years.
It's going to be interesting for me to see what they do with that number 4 pick.
Let's talk about that number 4 pick. So the Pelicans have the number 4 pick. We know who's going number 1, number 2, number 3. Who should the Pelicans get with that number 4 pick?
A trade.
Ooh, what kind of a deal?
If I was them, I guess I'm gonna say this, and I was about to look at my phone and see if I was able to say this or not.
Say it.
The Bulls got 6.
7, I think.
Bulls got 7. I'll swap with the Bulls and try to get Levine from them.
Ooh.
And give them Lonzo
You know
Ball.
something? Why are you gonna look at your phone? Are you breaking news on Jalen Jacoby? Levine?
That's what I would do.
Levine.
I would give
7 for 4.
And Lonzo Ball.
And Lonzo Ball. Levine and 7 and 4 and Ball.
That's what I would do.
Interesting. Is that gonna happen?
We'll see. But that's what I would do.
So that number 4 pick is interesting this year because it feels like there are 3 stars. RJ, Ja, Zion. And then there's a pretty big gap in talent from what it seems like from the outside. Who do you think is the 4th best player in this draft?
So there are a couple of players that, while if you were a diehard college basketball fan, you're going to know a couple of these names. But if you're just introducing yourselves to the players tonight, I'm going to name one, DeAndre Hunter, out of Virginia.
Plays defense.
They won the championship. I saw him on Jimmy Fallon, too. Good kid from Philly, versatile defender, reminds me a lot of Luol Deng. 6'7", like 225 pounds. He's going to be an improved shooter, going to be able to guard multiple positions. And the important thing in the league, be able to hold down his spot. You don't have to cross-match with guys like that. That's really important when you get to this level. Another guy that I targeted is Hachimura out of Gonzaga.
Rui Hachimura.
They played so well against Duke, and people got a chance to be familiar with him then, but he was consistent the entire year. He's has the body almost like a Kawhi Leonard built, and he's going to continue to be a lockdown defender on the next level. P.J. Washington is another one, reminds me of David West. Carson Edwards.
Jacoby White.
Carson Edwards.
Will
He check scorer off the bench.
Back next week. Enjoy the
We'll
draft
be
tonight.
back.